YouTube with Game 2 of the 2024 NBA Finals officially over. Once again here on the channel, we're going to be doing some breakdowns and analysis of Game 2 for both teams, individual players, what to expect for Game 3, and everything Game 2 related. Let's just start with the score, right? The Celtics in Game 2 come out again on top, 105-98 against the Dallas Mavericks, and the game was a little bit closer than Game 1, obviously, the score indicates that, and throughout the game, I think it was pretty back and forth, right? The Celtics maintained somewhat of a lead for most of the second half, and played maybe a little lackluster in the first half. The Mavs came out with a whole different energy and intensity in my opinion, but the result remains the same. Celtics win and they go up 2-0 heading into Dallas for Game 3 and 4, where Dallas will have a chance to save their season on their home floor. Let's do some Game 2 analysis, folks. Let's talk about it. So we'll start with the Mavericks once again here, just like in the Game 1 analysis video. One of the things in Game 1 that I thought was so crucial for the Mavs was maybe you saw in Game 1 a little bit of a lack of focus on the defensive end of the floor for the Mavs from time to time, and the Celtics didn't shoot well at all in the first half, and that's could be why it looks so much like that. But Dallas did, to me, appear to have a different defensive intensity in Game 2, really committing to rotations and double teams when they needed to, closeouts on the three-point line. They just looked a lot better defensively, a lot sharper, and committed to that end of the floor from everybody on the roster. So that's a big improvement for Dallas. It looks like they really figured some things out on the defensive end for Game 2. Unfortunately, the results don't always show that, but you have to be happy with at least your effort on the defensive end of the floor, like I said, if you're Dallas, and that's something you can build on and keep going with in this series, and hopefully in Game 3 can maybe even improve on a little more, right? Let's talk about some highlights and lowlights from the Mavs in this game, performance-wise, right? I thought PJ Washington played absolutely fantastic throughout this game, really on both ends of the floor, had a lot of big-time plays. We really got those mid-range floaters going. He looked super locked in and, ready to compete every possession on both ends of the floor, like I said. But like I said, those floaters were big, man. Like, he was just taking what the defense gave him, and I think that's really, really smart. The Mavs want to get great shots from everybody on the roster, and Luka is always the facilitator there, but there were a lot of times where I thought PJ really stepped up as that third guy and ended up finishing the game with 17 points, 6 of 13 from the field, 1 of 5 from 3. You'd like to see the three-point efficiency rise a little bit in the next game maybe, but 7 rebounds, 1 assist, and 1 block. He was one of only 3 players for the Mavericks that had a positive plus-minus, and like I said, just his performance on both ends of the floor I think was really, really good. That's exactly what you expect out of him, and he did his job and then some, right? So big performance from PJ. Love to see it if you're a Mavs fan. Luka played amazing in this game. The only big standout for the negatives, which we're gonna talk about all the great stuff about him, but just get the criticism out of the way. He did have 8 turnovers in this game, but like I said before, with someone of his caliber with the ball in his hands so much, making all these risky passes all the time, and the way he plays, his play style, the turnovers are just gonna happen. Obviously 8 is a very high number. You'd like to see it cut down to maybe 4 or 3, somewhere in that range. Like in Game 1 I think he had 3 turnovers, but turnovers got to be lower for the next game, like I said. But Luka's performance in this game was really special to me, really keeping the Mavs in the game a lot of times, hitting big shots when he needed to, played efficient from all areas other than the free throw line, like I said. 32 points, 11 rebounds, 11 assists with 4 steals as well. He was pretty active on the ball with his hands a lot of times, and shot 12 of 21 from the field, 4 of 9 from 3, and 4 of 8 from the line. Like I said, the line needs to be better. Big focus for the Mavs, because the Mavs as a team just haven't been shooting well from the line. But great performance from Luka, man. This is now 2 games in a row where he's played his best in my opinion, and you really can't ask much more of your best player, right? Daniel Gafford I thought was really, really good in this game, primarily on the offensive end. They looked a lot of times to get him involved offensively. Looked like a lot of times the Celtics were switching smaller defenders on him to keep a bigger guy, for help weak side shot blocking out of the paint. So a lot of times you'd see like a Derrick White or a Jayson Tatum or one of those smaller guys, not primarily a big man, on Daniel Gafford, and he really did a good job exposing that and making it so the Celtics had to switch that up. And that's a really good sign for Daniel Gafford. Like I said, when he gets around the rim, he's a talented player and can score in a lot of ways. And he ended up with 13 points, 9 rebounds, 6 of 9 from the field. Really great performance in only 23 minutes as well. So really great performance from Gafford. That's a very encouraging sign. The big man didn't play very well in the last game. So Derrick Jones Jr. I thought was a positive in this game as well. Finished with 11 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, but he was all over the floor defensively, committing to that end of the floor, and a lot of times taking on Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and these guys, picking them up, as far as he can, and you're never going to be able to stop those guys. But I thought he did a really good job committing to the defensive end of the floor, and like I said, shot 4 of 7 from the field, but he needs to start knocking down threes. He was 0 of 3 in this game, but I liked the performance out of DJJ. Now let's talk about maybe some lackluster performance for the Mavs, because there were quite a few, and notably Kyrie Irving, who I talked about in my last couple videos, how Kyrie Irving has really made a mistake by poking the bear with the Celtics fans, and they were a little bit louder noticeably on the broadcast last night, but that has nothing to do with this. I'm talking about his performance in game 1 was super lackluster, and that continued into game 2, unfortunately. You know, Kyrie doesn't look like himself. It looks like the matchups are really affecting him, and not something I would have expected going into this game, right? I thought Kyrie would bounce back big time in this game from the bad performance he had in game 1, but it was a very similar performance in this game, right? Finished with 16 points, 2 rebounds, 6 assists, but he shot 7 of 18 from the field and 0 of 3 from three-point range, only getting to the line once. He knocked down both the free throws, but you know, this is really concerning if you're a Mavs fan, man. And Kyrie's just got to play better, right? And that's the bottom line. So, you know, they're going to have no chance if he plays like this every game. He's got to step up in game 3 on their home floor. Some other performances I think could use some work were some of the role players shooting the basketball outside of the arc. You know, the Mavs only made 6 3-pointers in this game. They only shot 23 of them. And part of that is, you know, you have to give the Celtics credit for being so great defensively, but there were only 3 players that made a 3-point field goal in this game for the Mavs. One of them was Luka with 4 of them out of their 6. And then the other 2 were PJ Washington, who, like I said, went 1 of 5, and Dante Exum, who played, you know, some pretty good minutes in this game. I thought Exum really played well in his limited role, only played 11 minutes in the game, like I said, but he's a guy that I think could be getting more minutes in this rotation going forward. He seems to fit the matchups well, and, you know, he gave a good showing, like I said, in game 2. But Josh Green has got to start hitting these open threes, and Maxi Kleber 0 of 2 from 3, Kyrie Irving 0 of 3 from 3, Derrick Jones 0 of 3, and PJ Washington 1 of 5. So it's got to be someone making these catch and shoot opportunities turn into points a little bit more. You know, the Mavs looked really bad in both of these games from beyond the arc, and I think a lot of that is the role players. I tweeted out last night during the game that, you know, if Josh Green and Derrick Jones Jr. and these guys can start knocking down these open catch and shoots, because they're getting really good looks a lot of times. Luka's finding a way to get these guys open. They got to start knocking them down. You got to hit the open ones against the Celtics. But I tweeted out something like, you know, if these guys started hitting their open catch and shoot threes, this would be a totally different game for the Mavs offensively. You know, the Celtics are just leaving these guys open a lot of times because they don't respect their shot anymore, and that is really affecting the interior of the paint, and it's also affecting where Luka is able to get and operate on the floor. So, you know, these guys got to be able to do a better job of spacing the floor. But, you know, the Mavs, like I said, free throw line needs to be an area of emphasis, only shooting 66% from the line, 23% from 3. So shooting in general has to be better for the Mavs. They're getting good looks a lot of times. It's just they're not making them, right? So pretty unfortunate, but also I think, you know, the big takeaways are, you know, shooting, like I said, Kyrie Irving in particular, and the role players knocking down these threes, and then the free throws from everybody. So that's what the Mavs can do and look at maybe in the period of time between game 2 and game 3 to improve going into game 3, and maybe, you know, help their team a lot on the margins and make it a little bit easier on themselves, right? Because a lot of these are self-inflicted. So hopefully if you're a Mavs fan, they can straighten these things out, but these are the issues that I saw last night. Now for the Celtics, I mean, again, you know, it's going to be kind of a boring take for the Celtics because they're just so great and everyone played so great. But let's start with a little bit of the criticism right out of the gate. You know, they shot the ball really poorly in the first half, like I said, keeping the Mavs in the game, and somehow the Celtics are so good that while they were like 5 of 25 from 3 in that first half, they still ended up going into the half with a lead and, you know, being up about 7 points throughout a lot of the first half. So it's crazy that they were, you know, not getting blown out by 10 shooting like that. But another not criticism but thing to look out for is Kristaps Porzingis. He looked pretty hobbled after a certain play, I believe in the second half of this game. So, you know, clearly didn't look like himself after that. He's obviously playing so amazing in this series, but, you know, only ended up playing 23 minutes again. So it does appear he's on some kind of restriction. Was a, you know, really positive factor for the Celtics, primarily on the defensive end of the floor. I mean, the Mavs just can't get anything inside when he's on the floor. So the defense is really helping the Celtics, but, you know, that injury is something to watch out for. I would expect him to play in game 3 if it's not something super serious, but it's just something to note. He didn't look the same after that play, but, you know, Kristaps, like I said, played so well in this game. Everyone played so well in this game. We got to talk about Jrue Holiday, man. Jrue Holiday having the game of his life in this finals game 2, scoring 26 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 1 block in 41 minutes, and he shot 11 of 14 from the field, man. Like, what are you talking about? This is one of the best performances we're going to see of anyone in this series. I mean, almost flawless from the field, and it was also 2 of 4 from 3 and 2 of 2 from the line. So, you know, Jrue Holiday, obviously the MVP of this game for me, and you just gotta love, you know, the versatility on both ends of the floor. You know, this is something he can do every given night. Maybe not at this, you know, efficiency rate, but he is capable of these big performances, and that is why they made the trade for him. Jaylen Brown was terrific once again on both ends of the floor. 21 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals. Did have 6 turnovers, but hey, man, he shot 8 of 15 from the field and 4 of 4 from the line, which is a big step up. Like I talked about before, how his free throw percentage has been really poor throughout the playoffs. So 4 of 4 from the line line is a good sign maybe if you're a Celtics fan. But in transition, this guy was a problem. You know, once again, Jaylen Brown looking like he could be finals MVP if they continue this play and win the next 2 games. But, you know, it was a similar formula for the Celtics. Jayson Tatum taking a lot of, you know, kind of a step back in terms of offense. You know, he shot really poorly again from the field, which is maybe a little bit concerning. I mean, it didn't end up mattering for the Celtics as he chipped in 18 points, 9 rebounds, and 12 assists. 12 assists being the big thing to note, really doing a lot of work from the playmaking aspect, being really one of the lead playmakers on this team throughout the game other than JB. You know, he lowered his turnovers. I think he had 6 last game, ended up with 3 this game. So 12-to-3 turnover ratio for a small forward, power forward is pretty great, right? And like I said, didn't shoot well, but he found a great way to impact the game once again, other than scoring. And you just got to really admire the maturity and putting his ego aside to be able to say, you know, I don't care if Jaylen Brown wins the MVP of this series. I just want to win a finals, and he's doing everything it takes, right? He understands now that, you know, it's not always going to be the way he wants it to be as far as, you know, his performance and, you know, how people view him on the team. And he's really accepting that, and because that's what it takes to win right now. And I think that's a sign of maturity and growth. Like I said, I know everyone's talking about that and they're beating it into the ground, but it is true. Derrick White at 18 points, you know, didn't shoot great either, but chipped in 4 3-pointers. So, and, you know, was a stellar defensive perimeter defender again, you know, in this game. So all around, just my takeaway from this game, now that we got both teams out of the way, I've said this all season long. I predicted the Celtics to win the finals. They're just a better team than the Mavericks, right? Like, just straight up, they are just a better team. That doesn't mean the Mavs can't come back and win this series. And I still think that's definitely on the table. You know, you don't want to be down 2-0 to a better team and basically the best team in the world, but you have 2 games at home, right? And so you have a chance and you're still in this thing, right? And last game was a good encouraging sign. I mean, you didn't shoot well from the 3-point line or the free throw line. You turned the ball over quite a bit. Your second best player isn't even playing well, and still you had a really good chance to win that game. So down the stretch even. So, you know, there is still plenty of hope for the Mavs. I'm not saying they're done by any means, but the Celtics are just better. They have more. They have so much firepower. It's unbelievable on both ends of the floor, and they can just beat you in so many ways. I mean, their best player, Jayson Tatum, their best player. I'll talk about that maybe in the next video. Stick around for that if you want to hear that topic, because if you know, you know. Jason Kidd. Their best player, Jayson Tatum, is shooting the ball super poorly, right? He's not even scoring most of the points for this team. So the fact that they can still beat you pretty handedly in both of those games is concerning if you're the Mavs. But like I said, you're not out of it. You know, you just got to continue to build on the things that have been working. I thought the defense was a big step up from game 1. You played a lot better defensively, and it really showed, you know. But Kyrie's got to play better, and there's a good chance he will, man. I think he'll figure it out. He's a smart guy. He's a great player, all-time great player, and great players bounce back, man. I don't expect this performance to continue throughout the series. I think game 3, I know I said this last time, but game 3 is going to be where he has a breakout game in Dallas. Gonna have the fans behind him. Maybe the fans were getting to him, I don't know. But either way, I think the Celtics are just a better team, and the Dallas Mavericks cannot continue to have these self-inflicted wounds all the time in this series against a better team. You really have to play almost as perfect as you could play against the Celtics, because they're just good. They have so much firepower. It's just you got to play perfect, right? So when you're up against it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you guys drop a like if you did. Let me know down in the comment section what you think of this game. What were your takeaways? Did I hit it on the head? Did I miss something? Let me know. I want the Celtics to lose, man. I'm a Sixers fan, but I just have to be honest and objective about what I'm seeing. It's so unfortunate. I want the Mavs to bounce back on their home floor in game 3. We'll have to see. There'll be an analysis after that game too. Hopefully I'm not saying the same things I am now. Hopefully the Mavs can fix their issues, but make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you guys don't want to miss any videos just like this. We upload basketball content every day on the channel, and I don't want you guys to miss it. Make sure you guys hit that sub button and stick around. Other than that, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. This is your boy D-Have, and as always, peace.